this child's pose, changing this awareness from the external and bringing it inward is a really good part of this posture. As we're kind of curling in, yet we've got this little reach out of the arms softly towards the front. Acknowledging yourself as you're arriving in this space. And if it feels good, you might start that little bit of movement. It could be tiny, a swing of the hips, a movement into the arms, or a light turning of the head. Anything that serves you at this stage, a small movement to find your way into the physical practice. As you acknowledge these little movements, let's make them a bit bigger. As you take your breath in now, round your back and lift up onto all fours. And when you're breathing out, reach back towards the heels. As you're breathing in, rounding up onto all fours. Nice, rounded, deep stretch into the back. And exhaling to retreat again to the heels. Do that just once more, finding the rounded back as you inhale, the chin tucking in. And on the exhalation, last time, sitting back towards the heels. As you breathe in, rise up once more. This time, tuck the toes under, round your back again as you lift the knees off the floor, finding a downward facing dog. Notice how you're feeling within this down dog. I don't really like to tell you to pedal out your legs because you will do that automatically. But maybe finding that little yummy movement that takes you over to sides or where there's a lift of the hands. Exploring your down dog just as you did explore the child's pose when we started to come onto the mat. And then do start walking and walk your feet forward and come into a standing forward bend. Now, notice how your feet are positioned. Any position here is really good enough. If you can't reach the floor, you might take again a block underneath the hands and you might explore this posture now. There could be a rocking forwards and backwards or lifting of one heel at a time. Anything that gets you into more ease within this pose. It doesn't mean you need to approach the full posture. Anything here will do. Allowing the head then to hang down. Maybe give it a shake for a no, a not for a yes. And maybe also starting to release the arms. Noticing where the weight sits within your feet and trying to shift the weight just a tiny little bit forward within the feet. Getting a sense of the tailbone lifting more. As you take your next inhalation, let your hands slide up to shins or even thighs and stretch your spine forward into a half lift position. Hold here for a moment. Legs could still be lightly bent. Shoulders are back. Back is long. Take a deep breath in here and bend the knees a little bit more. And then push down into the feet and roll up into standing. Lifting the shoulders when breathing in and roll them down when breathing out. And as you next inhale, just reach the arms out wide and stretch them over the head. You could come into Charlie's Angel's Mudra, index finger touching, or the palms touching and thumbs crossed. Standing more firm now, strengthen into the legs, even activate the glutes. See if you can press the palms of the hands together. And when you're exhaling, then bending to the right. Inhale, come to center. And exhale, bending to your left. Repeat that a couple more times to each side, just sway. as we're easing our body into the different shapes, allowing the arms to be firm, just as you've activated the legs. And then as you lift back up into the center, let the arms circle back out. Reach them into your lower back, fingertips pointing down. Bend a little bit into the knees. As you breathe in, then straighten the legs, encourage the hips forward. Begin to arch backwards. Neck is only an option if it's feeling all right, lifting through the chin. More important to feel a lift through the sternum. Deep breath in. And then as you might soften the knees again, slowly lifting your body back into center. On the next in-breath, circle the arms out and up again. Stretch them right over the head and bring the hands through the midline as we fold forward once again. So this time, this forward bend is more of a counter pose. If you can reach there, you might even pistol grip your big toes, allowing the elbows, if that is the case, to move sideways. But let's lift the shoulders, be more active in this posture. Wherever you're reaching, let's lift the shoulders back into the sockets, keeping the weight lightly forward within the feet. Nose is pointing to the space between the knees. Stay here, 2 more breaths. Then release the arms. Take a breath in, return to the half lift and stretch your spine forward. Then bend the knees and roll up as you're breathing out. Lifting the shoulders on the in-breath and rolling them down on the out-breath. You can keep your stands at hip distance or you can bring your legs closer for a chair pose. The arms in this variation can lift out in front, palms facing up or down, or you can lift them around your ears, your choice. On the out breath now, bending your knees and your hips as you sit a little bit lower. Now once you come here, let the weight be evenly over the feet. Let the sit bones open out and engage the lower belly muscles. Holding your here. Shoulders are fairly relaxed. You might sit that little bit deeper. Notice where you're at today. Does that serve you? Does it not? Be with the body. Holding here. 1 more breath. And this time, as you breathe in, push down into the floor. Lift the arms all the way. Have a stretch even with your gaze. And then release the posture. I invite you into 1 more chair pose. This time, either repeat or do the same posture with your heels lifted. So while you bring your arms into position, breathing in, heels coming off the ground. Keep the heels off the ground, keep swaying, and start lowering. Now, the major difference here is that we're aiming to keep the spine long rather than leaning forward. That is if your heels are off the floor. Keeping the spine long as you come into your chair. Hold it there. Well, however deep or high you're standing, just appreciate where can you be. Taking good care of your knees, because that's an area that we're strengthening here a lot. Stay for 1 more breath. Then lower the heels. Breathe in. Stretch back up. Fully, maybe even with your gaze, and then releasing the arms. Now I invite you to still stay with the chair pose as we'll twist it around. Let's lift the arms again to your height as you breathe in, and on the out breath come into a twisted chair. Twist it to the right first so we're on the same side. It's okay to keep elbows floating or place the elbow to the outside of the knee. Have a little look. Are your knees actually parallel? If you feel you want to do a bit extra, take a breath in and open your arms out, pointing one up, pointing one down. Only a choice. Let's change. As you inhale, press down into your feet, rise all the way for the length of the body, and then twist as you bend your knees again, hands touching, turning to the other side. If you can reach over to the outside of the knee. Again, have a check, are your knees actually parallel here at the front? And then stay within this twist. If your elbow is on the outside of your knee, push these two a bit against each other, even if you choose to open your arms now on an in-breath and stretching one up and one down. Then come back in as you inhale, push into the feet, lifting the arms up. And this time, just lower them out to about shoulder height. Take a deep breath in and move the arms back and open through your heart space. And when you're breathing out, let the right arm come underneath your left. Wind the arms up if you can, otherwise hug your shoulders. Now I'd ask you today if you can reach to interlace the hands instead of touching the palms together, getting a bit more intense into the sensations of the arms. Keep the shoulders relaxed, bend your knees, lift the right leg and drop it over your left. Big toe can be on the ground, or you could go as far as hooking the foot behind or hugging the leg in by the side. Now, once all of these limbs are wound up, just press them against each other. The palms, the arms, and the legs. Variation of the eagle. And we will release that. As we unwind, breathe in, lift the knee, extend your arms, and just landing the foot down. Take another good reach and openness into the chest. And then as you bring your left arm underneath the right, you can choose again, shoulder embrace or the full version, and maybe even interlacing the hands here. It comes quite natural that that is in a different way. Let's bend the knees, lifting the left leg and crossing it over. Same options, big toe to the ground, hugging the foot in by the side, or even wrapping it behind. Shoulders are low, and we're starting to create that pressure. Pressure, legs against each other, arms against each other, palms. We're creating a bit of inner heat while stimulating. Let's unwind that. Unwind, open, lift your knee, breath in. And this time as you land the foot, release the arms to have a little bit of movement here. Move a bit forward and back as we're approaching a few more balances. I would love to go with the extended hand to big toe pose. If that is too much, you can grab a strap or a towel or something to hold on to the foot, or you can just lift your knee. So many variations. As we shift the weight to the left foot, let's lift the right knee. So you can stay here, you can take a hand onto the knee, all of this will do, or you get your strap or item underneath the foot. Maybe you're taking a pistol grip of your right big toe. Left hand goes into the side of the waist. You can stay here, or you can extend the leg out. Finding steadiness. Then bend the knee again, land the foot. There's likely a good difference in the sensations of your two sides. Let's shift the weight over towards the right foot. Lifting the left knee. Choices, hold on to the knee. Maybe get a strap underneath the foot. Or take a pistol grip of the big toe. Right hand, side of the waist. As you find your variation, and I bet there's many more, could you choose to extend the leg out? Hold it. Keep the hip down, the shoulder relaxed. Steady gaze. Breathe. Then bend the knee again and release the foot to the floor. Any type of movement that gets you out of this static one is good. Maybe a hip swing is nice. We will approach a warrior 3. So from there, take a breath in, lift the arms out and up. If you like, you can find Charlie's Angel's Mudra again and fully extending the arms. Let your left big toe poke behind. Take a breath in and stretch from the toe to the fingers. And when breathing out, try to lift the toe off the floor and see if that takes you further forward. You can come into a whole straight line of the body. Maybe you're standing in an angle. If you are having your foot off the floor, start to flex it. Point the toes, the hips, and have the gaze towards the ground. So ideally, we're fully forward. That would be the full posture. And as no body is ideal, you could be anywhere in between. Let's step the foot back down. Reach the arms up. Come to a parallel stance and let the arms relax. We'll do that on the other side. Of course, we'll change the interlace, lifting the arms up over the head, changing the interlace of the fingers, lengthening to the arms. Head is right in between and we're poking the other big toe behind. Let's take a deep breath in and stretch from toe to fingers. And then there's a choice of tilting the body forward. It doesn't really matter how far you're getting. Once the foot's off the ground, try and flex it, pointing the toes down to the mat. We'll rotate the leg and with that the hip to face down as well. See if you can hold here for just another breath. And then rise it again. Come to stand and release the arms. I will ask you now to turn yourself sideways so you can use the full length of your mat, stepping your feet quite far apart, turning the toes forward so that the outer edges of the feet become parallel with those of the mat. Let's bring the hands into the side of the waist to begin with. Take a breath in, squeeze the shoulder blades a little, open your heart space and your gaze. And as you breathe out, bend the knees, folding from your hips. Make it safe for your back to move downwards. If you like, you can keep the hands in the sides of the waist, draw the shoulders into their sockets, and move the elbows and shoulder blades towards each other. The weight here sits forward within the feet, and maybe the crown of the head is pointing downwards, allowing all of this blood flow to come into the head. Weight is slightly forward in the feet, so you feel that little bit more length and the tailbone a bit taller. Let's release the hands down from here. Take a breath in and lengthen your spine. I'll ask you to turn your right foot outwards, to walk your hands over towards the right foot, to bring a bend into the right knee. We might start with the forearm on top of the thigh as you take a breath in to lift your left arm. See if you can open yourself up rather than reaching downwards or hanging onto the leg. If you like, you can extend the arm that's resting on the thigh, and with that maybe guiding your knee a bit further open. Have a big reach now into the arms, into the fingers. Breath in And breath out. Let's swing the arms back down onto the mat, turning your toes forward. As you come into the center here, we'll pause there for a moment. You could take another pistol grip here of your big toes. If the toes are too far away, maybe take a hold of the outside of your legs. Lengthen the spine on the in-breath, and then return to a standing forward bend on your out-breath. Same here, shoulders active, lifted into their sockets, but the elbows might be pointing out, and especially if you're starting to pull on your big toes. Notice the weight as you're sitting on your feet. Again, slightly forward, keep the tailbone high. Arms are optional, finding your variation with them. Last breath there, and then releasing the hands and breathing in to lengthen forward into your half lift. You might start to soften the legs and turn your left foot out. Walk the hands across towards that side, deeper bend into your left knee. Let's bring the forearm to the thigh again. And as you breathe in, lifting the left arm, right, sorry. Did it again. So as you are here, it's quite comfortable to hang in there. But we might become more active into the sides. And if it suits, extending the lower arm too. Just finding that reach and using that arm, if you do extend, to keep the knee open and in line with the toes. Take another good deep breath here, experiencing the sides. And we will then release that, same as we did on the other side. Bring the hands back down, turn the foot forward. I invite you into one more wide-legged forward bend. This one, I would ask you to reach the arms out if you can. Interlace the hands behind the back. Lengthen the arms down and your spine. And then fold. And if your shoulders allow you to, you could even lift the arms away from your back. Other than that, this posture is pretty much the same. Weight again, sit slightly forward within the feet. There's a potential extra stretch around the shoulders, upper back. The gaze might be slightly different due to the arms. Noticing these little details. And then let's release the arms down. Soften the knees, turning your toes to the front end of the mat. Step your feet together. Allow a half lift on the in-breath, bending the knees, and then curling yourself up as you're breathing out. As you're coming into a standing position, I would ask you to bring the hands onto the hips for a moment. To place your right foot forward and to turn the left foot slightly out. To allow the hips to open towards that side. As you breathe in, let's reach the arms out long. Right to shoulder height. And when breathing out, tilt that into a triangle. So we've got a fairly short stance for this triangle pose. Perfectly fine. We're wanting to lengthen the side of the waist from there. So once we've approached this triangle, we will take a breath in to soften the knees. Turn the arms as if you were taking off for a flight and leaning again slightly forward. Your back foot will need a little bit of adjustment as the toes turn more forward so that the pelvis comes into balance again. From here, let's breathe out. Bring the hands down onto your legs. If you're comfortable here, you might stay, or you can slide the hands down, bringing your nose towards your knee. Another forward bend. Or you can place the hands down to either side of the foot, taking your nose towards the knee. Stay there. 2 more breaths. After these two, bring the hands back up against the shin or the thigh, lengthen halfway forward. We're going to one more pose from here. Place the right hand into the side of the waist and carefully starting to turn the body. Now, if you're comfortable more or less with this, you could take the hand away from the shin and open the palm out as you place the hand to the outside of your leg instead. If you're feeling very comfortable, then lift your right arm, fully extended, revolved triangle pose. Let's release that. Stepping your feet parallel and taking your time to roll up into standing. Let the shoulders lift and roll them back. Maybe there's a movement now coming into your legs before we'll approach the other side. So I'd ask you to do that very similar. As you will step your left foot a bit forward. Hands go onto the pelvis again. And you're turning the other foot a bit out. Allowing your pelvis now to follow. So the same here, we've got a slightly shortish stance. Reaching the arms out as you take your breath into shoulder height. And when you're breathing out, lean into your triangle. So we're pointing fingers up and pointing fingers down. There is a light unlocking of your left knee. And you will find length in the side of the left waist as well, not just on the right. Reaching out long into the arms. And we will change it. Soften the knees. Let your arms fly out to the sides. Maybe the back foot adjusts a little bit. And then placing the hands down onto the thigh or the shin. You can stay here, same as on the other side, or you can slide the hands down and come into pyramid pose, lowering the nose towards the knee. Hands could also rest on the floor, either side of your foot. Try and maintain the balance and lower your nose down. If you struggle deeply with your balance, you might adjust the foot or the back foot slightly out to the side. Last breaths within this shape. And then soften the knees again. Slide the hands up halfway. Lengthen the spine forward. We'll keep the right hand here, left hand goes into the side of the waist. And you could slowly start to peel the left shoulder open. If you feel this is okay, release the hand from the shin, back off the hand against the outside of your leg. And if that feels good, might you extend your left arm too and complete a fully extended revolved triangle pose. Let's soften the knees, bring the hands down, step your feet parallel where it's comfortable, and once more, rolling up, take your time. Lifting the shoulders, roll them back and down, and steady your gaze towards the front. Our last standing posture, we'll finish that with a tree, a nice way to ground down. So I will ask you to bring the right heel up at least and open the knee out to the side. If this feels good, stay here. Foot can be below the knee, or you can place the foot to the inner thigh. Pressure here if you like, or even a half lotus if you prefer. Find your balance and touch the hands together at the heart. Stand really strong into the leg. Activate right up into the glutes. Either you stay here now or you're interlacing the hands and pushing down to the earth. And if that feels all right, take a breath in and lift the arms up. We will release the interlace as well as the foot and landing back with both feet on the mat. Let's approach the other side in a similar way. Begin to open your knee and choose the positioning for your foot. Work with the balance and touch the hands together once you're getting close to it. If you feel this worked for you, interlace the hands with the other finger on top and push the palms down to the earth. Strong in the standing leg. And maybe a breath in to lift the arms overhead. As we release the posture, release the arms and the knee, stepping down onto the ground. I will ask you for a brief moment to lie down completely onto your back, to have a short Shavasana pose. If you need any support, that is welcome. Feet on the floor are welcome too, or the legs out long and the feet rolling apart. Let the shoulders soften down. Allow yourself to notice how the body feels lying here. So at first you're noticing the contact to the ground, and then you're noticing the sensations that you can feel. Maintaining a slightly deeper, more controlled way of breathing. As you're sliding one hand underneath the upper part of the buttocks, and then do the same with the other hand, having your elbows pointing out towards the sides. Flex your feet. Breathe in. As you breathe out, tuck the chin in, push down into the arms, then into the hands, and see if you can come up to sit in this straight way. Leaving your legs out long at the front. Placing your hands down by your sides. Become really active and tall in the spine. If you need a support underneath, you can pop that under now. We're going to some forward bending from here. But before we've moved forward, we're encouraging the heels out a little bit more, and sometimes they actually come off the ground. And then relax them. Bring your bend into your knees. You can either choose to hold on to the backs of the thighs, or you can take a hold of the feet if you can reach. Take a breath in here and now lengthen your spine. Keep the shoulders down in their sockets. Keeping the spine long at first, and as you breathe out, let the heels slide out a bit. Keeping the contact of your belly to the thighs, you might lower your gaze gently, keeping the neck in alignment with the spine. And I've been sliding my heels out to create a deeper stretch. My belly is still touching the thighs due to too much eating during this lockdown. Maybe yours is too, not bulging out, but in touch with the thighs. Keeping the gaze quite low, the shoulders back, and stay with wherever you're at right now for 2 breaths. You've completed the 2 breaths. We can walk the hands back gradually, finding our way into a tall seated position. Let's bend the right knee and slide the foot up for head to knee pose. So you might walk out a little bit through the sit bones and turning towards the extended leg. The knee doesn't have to bend that deeply. You could have the foot anywhere against your leg. Push down into the floor as you inhale. And on the out breath, then go back, belly towards the thigh. Knee can be bent to achieve that. And lower your head towards your knee. Now for today, I actually recommend to stretch out a little bit deeper into the back of the neck, tucking the chin in towards the chest. And with that, tucking the head in towards the knee. Stay for one more breath. And then walking the hands back up to your body. Lifting the right knee up and placing the foot down. You can keep it here, have a gap to the leg, or you can step the foot across for a twist. Pull yourself up on the knee to create length. And then reaching your right hand fingertips behind and coming into a twist on the breath out. You could then slide your elbow up or even take your elbow to the outside of the leg. Stay with the twist, soften into the shoulders. Be active in the extended leg, toes facing upwards. Another breath here. And then releasing that. Swing the arm around. Step this foot onto the ground. Now you've got two choices. You can step the other foot onto the mat here as well for reversed tabletop. Hands down behind or your fists. Or you can extend the legs and point out through the toes. In any case, we'll take a breath in together, lifting the hips up. Gaze can stay forward if your neck is sore, or you're lifting the chin and drawing the head back. Now, if you're in the plank, aim with your toes to the ground, otherwise just squeezing the bottom and lifting a little bit up. One last breath within this pose, and then as gracefully as is possible, lowering the hips back down onto the mat. And extend the right leg now, changing sides, and bringing the left foot against the leg. Anywhere is fine again. Maybe it's all the way up close. Turn around, walk it out towards your extended leg. Maybe a bend in the knee. Bring the fingertips down as you inhale to find this length. And when you're breathing out, walking the hands forward. Again, I encourage you to lower the head gently at first. And if you're feeling comfortable with it, then tuck the chin in all the way towards the chest, creating a big stretch in the back of the neck, and maybe the head even touches the knee. That's not the aim necessarily. Keeping shoulders relaxed, stay here and breathe. Last breath before walking the hands back up. Lifting the knee and either stepping the foot down here with a little gap or stepping it across. Take a hold of the knee, pull yourself up tall. Then reach your left hand fingertips behind. Hand is on the knee as you breathe out to twist. And from there, can you choose to take the elbow around the knee or even take it to the outside of your leg. Let the shoulders soften again. Be active in the extended leg. Heel pushing out and pause to breathe. Now let's unwind this posture. Take the legs out to the side and come up onto your hands and maybe your knees, or your toes. If you like, you can lift the knees off the floor and find a full plank. I will ask you to hold here, to pause, to create space in between the shoulder blades. And you might then lower your knees down. And as you're breathing out, coming down onto the mat. Keep the hands down by your sides, your feet on the ground as we approach a cobra. On the in-breath, lifting the heart and the head. Encourage down into the tops of the feet. Keep the shoulders fairly relaxed in their sockets, the elbows by the sides. The height of this cobra is up to you. Stay here. One more breath. And then release the posture. For the next back bend, could you have your arms alongside the body like so and lift them here? Or if your shoulders are quite happy, you can interlace. Now we've done an interlace earlier in the class. Let's change the finger on top. If you're coming with me, lengthen the arms down. On the in-breath now, lift the legs, head, chest, draw the shoulders back and maybe lift the arms away from the back. Hold here, breathe. And release it down. I'll ask you to place the hands down by the sides of the ribs, to push yourself up onto your knees and to sit back gently towards the heels. Bring your hands now in front of your knees and come to stand upon the knees for a camel pose. So I like my knees a little bit wider than touching. And we'll begin with the hands in the lower back, same as we did earlier standing. Point the fingertips down towards the floor. Squeeze the shoulder blades, move the elbows back, and then start your inhalation. Starting to lift through the sternum. Head forward is okay. If your neck allows you to, lift the chin and carefully guiding the head backwards. Now, some of you will want to reach for the heels. That is definitely an option. Others might want to stay right here. Taking a few more breaths into the space of the heart. And then as you next breathe in, lift yourself back up. You might adjust the positioning of the knees and take your time to sit down onto your heels. We might place the hands down firmly onto the floor for a gentle inversion. Lowering the head down carefully. Now you might not all feel up for it and it's perfectly fine to stay here. If you like to go deeper, tuck the chin back in, lift your hips and roll up onto the top of the head. I do know that there's some in the class that like to take it into a full inversion. Please feel free to do so if that's in your practice. Otherwise, please stay here because I can't properly see you all and I can't help you. So I would rather keep you on the safe side. Feeling a stimulation now to the top of the head. And stay with that just for another 2 breaths. Before retreating, as you retreat back into a child's pose, and this one might have stacked fists and the forehead resting on the stacked fists. Then curling the body back into a seated pose and extending the legs out towards the front. Lifting the arms up by the sides. And then very slowly rolling down onto your back. taking your right knee into the chest and give it a good squeeze. Let the shoulders relax, the eyes close. Breathing in. And breathing out as you might lift your nose to the knee. Then releasing back onto the ground. If it feels right, take the opposite hand to the knee. Let your right arm fall out and guide the knee across the body for a twist. Maybe your body is quite warm and you can find your way into shoulders grounded and would even like to turn the head to one side. Staying with the twist. Last breath here. And then come to center again. Letting the right leg come out long as we're changing sides, hugging your left knee into the chest. Give that one a good squeeze. As you breathe in, and if you like on the out breath, lifting your nose to your knee. And releasing back onto the mat. If that's appropriate, you can always stay there. Opposite hand to the knee, left arm to the side, and on an out breath, guiding the knee across the body. Same here, try and keep the shoulders on the floor, maybe turning the head. One more breath within this twist. And then come back to the center. Leave this knee up here and add the other one and give them both a good hug. You might have a moment where you're rocking gently from side to side. And then as you next exhale, if you like, tuck your nose back up to your knees and maybe embrace even your elbows. Doesn't matter, just a little bit of a deeper hug. And then try and lower the head down and hold your parcel. Let that parcel go, let your knees open a bit. Place the feet down onto the ground and get yourself ready for relaxation. So you might extend the legs out fully, you might pop something underneath the knees, you might keep the feet on the floor, whatever works best for you. Get yourself into a very comfortable position, and once you're there, closing the eyes if possible. And if that's not okay for you to do today, just steady your gaze against the ceiling. So when the eyes begin to wander, usually the mind does too. So a good idea to close the eyes or steady the gaze. As you find the stillness there on the floor, relaxing the body. I'll share the card that I picked from the Namaste deck today. It says, "You are blessed regardless. Every experience enriches us and those around us in some way. Regardless of what we achieve or don't achieve, do or don't do, all is a blessing in one form or another. Nothing is a mistake, for all serves a divine purpose. All is blessed." I'm inviting you to deepen the breath a little. But before I'll ask you to come up to sit, I invite you to a few rounds of sighing, a nice way of relaxing the body quite instantly, an automatic response of the body when we're feeling a bit tense or stressed. So let's take a deep breath in, have a good, loud, heavy sigh out. Oh. Long or short, up to you. We'll go for another few. Inhaling. Go for another. Breathing in. And have 2 more of these noisy sighs before you might stretch and move and come back to a seated pose. So take your time. Once you come to sit, try and close the eyes for a little bit longer, or steady the gaze again and bring the hands together in front of the chest. As we're meeting here, we're touching into that space within us, and hopefully you got there somehow. And from this place, extending to each other, namaste. I will share the picture of this card. Not only does it tell us that everything is a blessing no matter what is going on, but also I think is it a nice a picture to have a think about, as we spoke about what is going on in the world at the moment and our small contributions. I think that's a nice thought that could go along with this card as well. There's a big field of flowers and there is hearts or love coming from that field. And can't we all see us as these flowers that, you know, can shine into the world and can spread that love that we're all seeking, the happiness that we all want?